Hey everyone, this is Dr. B from Steps to the Future. Thank you so much for joining in this evening for College and Career Conversations. The Common Application, it's now open. So this evening's conversation is going to be about probably the most popular application platform that many students across the United States and internationally use to apply to colleges. We have right now, and I think there are over 900 colleges that use the Common Application. And all of my seniors are busy getting parts of their Common App done. And one of the things I wanted to do this evening was to go over the Common Application with those that are familiar with it or those that need a little bit more information about the Common Application. This is also good for folks who are planning on applying to college, not this year, but maybe in the next couple of years. There are changes made to the Common App where it may be, a few questions here and there, but for the most part, the platform remains the same. So it's really good to get an idea of what the Common App includes so that you don't go into it and just randomly try to answer all those questions. But before I go to our quick break, no, I'm going to go to our excuse me, the mouth is not working this evening. I'm going to go to our quick break first and then come back to you with the recommended book for this week early. Hang on, folks. See you in a bit. Okay, so we are back. So as I said, one of the things that I would really love to do is to share this evening's recommended book. And actually, I think I have two this evening that I want to talk about. But remember, anybody that's out there watching, if you have a comment or a question, please use the comment box so that we can have a chat. I'd like this to be as interactive as possible, so don't be out there being shy. If you have joined in, please let me know where you're joining in from. And do you have a sophomore, a junior, a senior? Why are you joining in? You just want to hang out with me this evening? So again, if you're watching, let me know who you are. Let me know where you're watching from. And if you have a child that is on their way to college this year or in the next 2 years or 3 years. So let me just go over this book. So you guys know I usually always recommend a book, but I just wanted to give a shout out to one of my guests from a couple of weeks ago. So this is Get Your Foot Off My Neck, Memoirs of a Nigerian American Architect. And some of you who follow along, you know that I had the opportunity to have Susan Myrick Wilcox and Ola Morin Muhammad as guests, and they are the creative talent behind the soon-to-be launched Yellow Bliss Company. And during the conversation, Ola mentioned that she wrote a book, and actually that was the recommended book for that week. She was kind enough to send me an autographed copy, and it came today. So I've already, started delving into it and what have you. And I'm telling you, it's a book that people will want to read. So what I will do, I will make sure that I have the URL to order this book off Amazon on the show notes. But again, get your foot off. Oh my goodness, the mouth is not working today. Get Your Foot Off My Neck, Memoirs of a Nigerian American Architect. So that's for us to get started with this evening. So I wanted to talk about the Common Application. So the Common Application had been closed for a few days. They always close for maintenance the end of July and usually open up back around August 1st. Of course, they say August 1st, and they really opened up earlier on Saturday evening, probably like around, between 6 and 7 o'clock. I wasn't checking, but I was just noticing some of the messages from colleagues talking about the Common App being open. So as I said earlier, the Common Application is probably the most popular application, college application platform in the United States and internationally. We have over 700, over 900. Oh my God, this mouth is not working well this evening. We have over 900 colleges that use this application. And I thought it would be easier just to share my screen with you and show you my Common App account so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And again, remember, if you have any questions, whether you're watching this live or watching it on the replay, please reach out to me. Those of you that are watching it live, you know how to comment so that you can join in the conversation. And those of you watching it on replay, send me a message right in the discussion section of whether you're watching it on Facebook, whether you're watching it on YouTube, or whether you're watching the Facebook broadcast from the homepage of my website. So again, let me share my screen with you. Technology can always make you a little crazy. So I want to make sure I'm doing this right. Okay, so we are going to go in here and share the screen. Okay, so here we go. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. Okay, folks, so hopefully you can see that screen. Okay. Hi, Shatal. How are you? Thank you for joining in. I appreciate you joining in. So this is the Common App screen, and I've already logged into my account. So as a practitioner, I have a practice account. So many people may not know that as a parent or maybe someone who wants to help out a young person with their Common Application, not so much help them out where you're going in and definitely you don't want to be going and doing it for them because that's their job. But you may want to say, what is on this Common App? What's on it? You can, as you see at the top of the screen, there's a red band on mine and it says practice account. So the Common Application decided a few years ago to allow for practice accounts. So previous to that, what people would do is they would create a fictitious account. My cat had an account. I think one of my dogs had an account, but we would never submit it. So with the practice account, you can look at everything on the Common Application, but when it gets to the point when it has to be submitted, you cannot submit it. Okay. So this really gives me an opportunity to look at all the information that's on there as my students would see it or as your students would see it. So again, as it says, it's a practice account. Lets me know this is my Common App ID number. This is something a lot of times students need to put on different application platforms, or a school may ask for it, like if they use Naviance or PowerSchool or Score, there may be a place where they ask for their Common Application ID. So every student is given a unique ID so that Common Application can follow their records. Now, if a student ever has to communicate with Common Application through email or what have you, it's always a good idea to include their Common App ID so they can match up your email with whatever records they already have on file. So let's get started on this. So you see all these different tabs across the front: dashboard, my colleges, Common App, college search, and financial aid resources. So the Common App section is the section that every college that you apply to will receive. Yes, Chantel, the practice account is really pretty cool. And like I said, you can go in there, you can see every single thing, every type of question. You can play with it just as a student does. But again, it also lets you know when you get right to the very end and it talks about hit submit, it lets you know that this is a practice account and it can't actually be submitted. But up to that point, you get all the other information. So one of the things I always have well, they're seniors now, but when they were rising seniors, just at the end of their second semester as juniors, I had them all create an account for Common App. And I had them work on these sections: profile, family, education, testing, and activity. So we'll go through these sections a little bit. And if you have questions, let me know. So one of the things that you'll notice right off the bat when we're on that Common App tab is next to that section that says profile, there's a green check. That means I have answered all of the required questions for that section. One of the things that's important to remember is that as you're doing the Common Application, you cannot submit it until green checks are next to each one of the sections here, and also certain sections when you're doing the the part of the application that is specific to one college. So let's go through this. So, it's asking you personal information. And as you notice here, there's a red asterisk next to where it says first a given name. Anytime you see the red asterisk, that means the question has to be answered. Okay, you cannot submit an application if you leave a question unanswered that has a red asterisk to it. If it doesn't have a red asterisk, you can leave it blank. It's okay. You don't have to worry about that. The other thing that's important to know is on every page of the Common App, you will see a need help section. You can search help topics here, but what they try to do is to align the questions in that need help section with whatever section of the Common App you're on. So it's letting you know when hours are available for student chat. So if you need help, you can reach out to the support team at Common Application, and you can get some online help. Again, see some of the most common questions that students have. I already submitted. Can I change some of my answers? It gives you the answer to that and lets you know when you can change and when you cannot change. So let's just continue looking at this front page here. So I'm working on, using another screen. So sometimes it gets a little crazy, but I find it a little bit easier doing this. So again, it asks you, so here's just some of the questions it has. One of the things that's added to the Common App that's new, that wasn't on there last year, and they talked about this in their webinar that they did with counselors, is they added questions about pronouns, where students can indicate their pronouns. If you used a different name. So again, you notice next to this one, so next to the pronouns, you don't see the red asterisk, but next to this next question, have you ever used any other names? You have to answer that question because there is a red asterisk there. It's important because just in case, there are transcripts or other documents using a different name, they need to know that. Again, changed up the gender questions. The date of birth is always there. Then what you would do once you finish with that section is always a continue button at the end, and it takes you down to the next section. And there's just more questions that are asking you to fill out your profile and what have you. So that's that part of it. So I'm not going to go through every one of the questions on this section. So then if we were to move on to the family section, okay, so now it's asking you about marital status of parents or family members. So again, these are your choices when you look at the drop-down menu. If they're married, separated, divorced, never married, widowed, or civil union to domestic partners. So they really try to cover all bases. So it's important for students to make sure they answer that question. Then they want to know, who do you make your permanent home with? If you live with one parent, which parent are you living with? So that's important information. This question, do you have any children? That's important to answer. I put yes there. I don't know why I put yes. Well, I put yes there because I was answering for me. But if I was answering this at the time that I was going to college, I would have answered no. Because when you answer yes, then they want to know how many. So let me just change this back to no. So they will ask you how many. So you notice if I answer no there, that question disappears. But if you answer yes, then this question comes back about how many. That's because they're trying to determine whether or not you're a dependent or an independent student. And having children will make you an independent student if you're under 24. So there's a whole thing on what makes a dependent, independent student. And if that's something people are interested in, I'll make sure I also put that in the show notes. So again, I'm going to go back here and put no. So then it gives me the opportunity again, that blue button to continue. Okay, so now it's asking you to give a little bit more information, a little bit more detail about the parental unit. So say for example, like father, if you really don't have a lot of whoever you identified as parent one, if you really don't have a lot of information about them, you could put I have limited information about this parent. And then you can go on and so forth. So remember, until you actually hit submit, you can go in and change answers as you get more clarity on some of your answers. So this is all asking about parents. And here's where my kids stumble sometimes, and it always amazes me. And even when I was a high school counselor at East Providence High School, I used to always be amazed at how many students did not know the title of the occupation their parents had. So one of the things that's actually been added into the Common App over the years is they do have a drop-down menu with quite a few different fields for students to choose from. And let's see, they have school counselor in there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Or, there's other. So they can always put other, and then if they want to, they can fill in those details. But again, you notice there is not a red asterisk next to that. So that's a question that does not have to be answered. Employment status, if you have that. But one of the questions they do want to know is your parent currently employed or retired from a college or university? So that is a required question because, if you're applying to a college where one of your parents was employed by, there might be some tuition remission available. If they retired, so if they retired from that. So that's the main thing, because then there might be some tuition remission. So you want to make sure you get that information in there. They ask education level, and then it goes on asking about parent too. And then it goes on to the section asking about your siblings. Okay, so if you have any siblings, how many? And again, you have that drop-down menu where you can go in and indicate the number of siblings you have. And I wonder what happens if you have more than 5. Because it only goes up to 5. I mean, Okay, so here, just answered my own question. So remember I told you to pay attention to the help section over here. What if I have more than 5 siblings to add? And then it goes on to tell you when you click on here, it tells you that you can add siblings, half siblings, step siblings only. If you need to enter more than 5, use the additional information section, which is located in the writing section of the Common App. So again, if you come from a large family and you need to put that in, that's what you can do. And then you would just hit this continue button. And now it takes us on to education. This is really important because you want to make sure you get this information correct, because colleges, they will be using this. So again, they want to know your most current high school. I used Terry Sanford, one of the high schools in Fayetteville in Cumberland County. The date that you started at that school, just the month and the year. Then they want to know if it's a boarding school. When will you graduate from this school? They want to know the graduation date, again, just the month and the year. And they ask you other information. So again, remember, red asterisk, you have to answer that question. So this question, if did anything affect your progression, to something, are you graduating early? Some students get all their credits done and might graduate early. Are they graduating late? Did they take time off? Are they going to take a gap year? So again, that's a question you need to answer. Then it asks if students transferred from another school. They ask about information about other secondary schools there. So if you attended more than one high school, this is where you have to put in information about that high school. Central High School is actually my old high school, my alma mater. I graduated from Central High School in Providence, Rhode Island. Go Knights. And they ask you information there. And then here's a question they ask. Why did you leave that school? That's required. It could be because you moved. It could be because you wanted to be in a smaller school setting. Whatever your reason is, they are looking for a reason, and you have a maximum of 250 words to answer that question. So again, quite a few things going on there. They want to know, have you attended any colleges and universities? So have you taken any coursework at a college university? Again, question you have to answer. So people that are doing dual enrollment and what have you, you want to make sure this is a place where you indicate that. They'll ask you about your grades. Okay, this is important. So you want to make sure you have this right, because your school is going to send in an official transcript, and you want to make sure the information that you're self-reporting aligns with what's on the transcript. So I strongly recommend to all students that they ask their schools for an unofficial copy of their transcript through the end of the 11th grade. Now, each school has their process for doing this. So it's important that you either look on your school's website and look in the student handbook, or look at the school counseling department and see what the process is for requesting an unofficial transcript. You do not need an official transcript. An unofficial transcript will suffice. And what you want to do is to make sure that all the classes that are listed correctly with the correct grade. And then you would use that information from the transcript to help you fill out this section. So that way there's no, oh, I think I took this class in 10th grade. I think that's what it was called. I don't know, did I have a B or a C? I'm not quite sure. So all the information is there because the transcript is what the colleges are going to see. You're just going to have the unofficial one, and the colleges will have an official copy. So again, I strongly recommend that anybody that is applying to college this year have a copy of their unofficial transcript. And then it asks you about GPA, what have you. But again, you notice there's not a red asterisk. Don't have to answer it. Here is the part where I think it's great to have your transcript, because they're asking you about classes that you're taking now. Are you on a semester, trimester, or quarter system at your school? And every school does something a little different. Then you will put in your senior courses. And again, they have the subjects listed there. So, you choose how you're going to do it. And you just go through and you do that. Again, red asterisk, answer the question. Okay, so they give you room there for eight questions. For 8 courses. So make sure you do that. Then they also want to know, did you have any honors classes? So this is where, so if you put yes, that you want to report any honors, a new box opens up. Okay, so you can talk about, so like if you were taking AP or IB or an honors class, you want to put the title. So if it's English 3 honors, you're going to put that. If it's AP Lit, you're going to put that. What grade level that you took it in, and so on and so forth. Well, actually, that's if you got any honors. I'm sorry. Let me back up a little bit. That's if you got any honor, any kind of academic. So if you got National Honor Society, or if there was some National Science Award that you won, that's where you would put that information. Okay. So that is part of it for education. Now, testing. Now, here's where it gets, quite a few colleges have gone test optional as far as the SAT and the ACT is concerned. Here's where you can determine whether or not you're going to put that in. There are opportunities to self-report, but please, students, make sure you have conversations with your school counselors about whether or not you're reporting your test scores if you're applying to a test optional school. That's a conversation that you need to have with your school counselor about that. And again, make sure you're always checking out the need help section. So it's telling you about reporting different scores and what score choice means. And, again, that same question, if you already have submitted something, can you change your answers? So it's really important that you have conversations with your school counselors to see what you need to do about this particular section. Here's a section that sometimes causes students a little angst, get a little anxious about it. So Common Application gives you the opportunity to let them know about 10 activities that you were involved in over the time that you were in school. You do not have to have 10. So don't freak out. You say, yeah, but I only, I did basketball and something else. And because basketball or my sport or the club took up so much of my time, I really didn't do anything else, or I only did one other thing. Do not feel that you have to have all 10 of these filled out. What I highly recommend is that as you list these, you start with the activity that is the most important to you. What is the activity that is the most important to you? So, for example, when I was in high school, I worked. 1 year I was a cheerleader. Let me see, what else did I do? I was part of a tutoring club. Um, I was on the girls' basketball team for a little bit. So if I were to do it, probably, and did some community service. So probably for me, though, my activity one for me would be work. And they give you, again, a drop-down menu, and they should have a work. Yep. So paid work, because mine was paid work. I needed to work, as you know, I came from a single parent home. And so it was really important for me to have my own money. So you would put work. Then it asks you, position, leadership description. So if there was something involved with that around work, then you would do that. But so I was just doing this like based on what I do now. So I think I put community service here. Yeah, so community service volunteer, and then the position or leadership description. Pay attention. They give you 50 characters to answer this. 50 characters. That includes punctuation, that includes spaces. 50 characters. Then when you write the organization's name, you have 100 characters. Then when you're describing the activity, you have 150 characters. So when you do this, you need to be really succinct and clear, and use as many active verbs as possible. And I'll definitely put in actually, I think I have it. Let me just show you this. So there's actually a great resource from the College Essay Guy. And I'm just going to put this in here across the bottom. So the College Essay Guy, Ethan Sawyer, who is also known as the College Essay Guy, has quite a few resources on his website. And he has this college application hub. And if you go to this URL, you will see information on there about how to write all aspects of your college application, in particular things on the Common App. And there is a section on there on how to up-level your activities. So definitely use that. It's a free resource. And, Ethan has been like so generous with the work that he produces for students to use. So again, I would definitely recommend going and using that resource. So as we go on here, let's see. So again, it gives you up to 10. They want to know what grade level you participated in. Is it something that you're going to plan on doing postgraduate, or is it something that you did 9th, 10th, or 10th and 11th, or did you do it all 4 years in high school, or just 1 year in high school? So you want to let them know that. Here's where it gets tricky sometimes for students. How many hours per week did you spend doing this? Now, it may be that, the hours are irregular, so you want to come up with an average. And then they also want to know how many weeks spent per year doing this. So they're not looking, if you can give exact numbers, that's fine. But if not, don't stress yourself over it. Estimate, to the best of your ability, to what the actual number would be. And then they want to know, do you intend to participate in a similar activity in college? Yes or no? And again, red asterisk, because they want to know how involved you're going to be in school. So again, they're asking you that question. And then it just goes on, so I've got 5 here. If I want to add another activity, I can add until I got up to 10 activities. So again, the most important thing about those activities is to make sure that, first of all, you start listing them, in the order of what's most important to you, to do that. And then make sure that you're using active verbs when you're describing what you did, the outcomes. Let me just grab some water here because my throat's getting a little dry. Using my wonderful IECA cup. So we see it there. So thank you, IECA, for this lovely, lovely cup. Oh, throat gets a little dry when you're talking so much. The next section we're going to look at is the writing. This is where we start seeing some of the information about personal essays. So the Common App has 7 prompts, and you'll be writing to one of them. I always recommend, I actually use quite a few of the exercises from the College Essay Guys, College Application Hub, and in there he has a section on some pre-essay work. So I use that all the time with my students. His essay curriculum is one that I use all the time with my students. So this is just letting you know that some colleges require submission. They just want to make sure that you understand what they have here. So you have to check that box that has that red asterisk there. So you need to make sure you do that. And here are the 7 prompts for this year. As I said, when you're writing, I always have students write first and then we go back, because I have found personally that most of the time when students are writing, it fits one of the prompts. I don't want them to get so focused on it. And then we start breaking it down a little bit more. Then you could cut, and then once you have your personal statement, you will cut and paste it into this box. And you have to have at least 250 words, and you can have up to 650. And you can download, you can cut and paste, or you can bring it in from your Google Docs. I have all my kids, try to have all my students do their work in Google Docs so that we have a running record of what's been changed and it's always there. Nobody's losing anything. Okay. Then there's this section, additional information. Say there's something that, maybe, due to, COVID. This was actually a question that was put in last year. COVID affected people in so many different ways. So if your family was affected by COVID, whether someone, maybe someone lost a job or had a salary decrease, or, a family member had to come live with you because they couldn't live alone anymore, or, someone passed away from COVID and funeral expenses and what have you, or you weren't able to go to your school at all. So this is where, so if you have something to share with them, this is where you would do it. So again, I had clicked on yes, so that box is open. If you click on no, that box disappears. So just know that sometimes you'll click on something and another question may appear. That's really important to know. Then, aside from COVID, they want to know if you have any additional information you want to share. And sometimes students say, well, what else would I put in there? Well, say that you move from one school to another in the same school year, and you want to explain why you made that change in schools. This is a place where you would put it. I've also had students use this to explain why they received a lower grade. So for example, I'm thinking of one student one year who did fantastic in all of their classes, but in the 9th grade, this person didn't do too well in math. Actually had a pretty low grade, had a D in math, but had great grades 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So I told the student, I said, you're going to have to explain why you have that D, because if not, you're leaving it up to speculation. Admission person, I might be looking and say, hey, this kid goof off in class, or what else was going on? So rather than allow speculation to take place, talk about why you had that D and take ownership of why you had that D. This is not a place to do the blame game. This is a place to take ownership of whatever it is you're talking about. And to use that wisely. Now, it does give you up to 650 words. They are not looking for another, giant essay. They just want you to use enough words to explain the situation. If you don't have anything to explain, this is where, again, when you click no, that box disappears. So it won't even be there. Now, some classes, some colleges will require you to put in the courses and grades that you've received. And as you can see from the list of colleges that I already have on here, it's telling me that 2 colleges do require this. So when I click on this, it takes me, so it's telling me that Clemson and Stanford, because those are colleges I have put on my list, are telling me that I have to do this. So can I access a copy of my transcript or official grades? Yes. So now, again, that other box opens up. So they want to know. So I'm going to add 9th grade. So if I add 9th grade, they're going to ask me to report courses that I took in the 9th grade. So you see here, it's for 9th grade. So again, they're telling you they're going to walk you through adding your first course to help you get the hang of things. Have your transcript ready. This is why it's so important, because if you happen to be applying to a school that requires you to have the courses and grades listed separate from your transcript that they're going to receive anyway, it's really better to have your transcript on hand so that you're comparing apples to apples. Okay, so I'm not going to go through this. I'm going to click out of that. So again, two of the colleges on the list I have do require that. So think about that. Again, remember, ask your school counselor, or whether it's your the school counseling secretary or whoever, know what the policy is for your school to request an unofficial transcript. Okay, now, so that's the Common App part. What about the individual part for the colleges? So if there's a college you're interested in, you can go to College Search, and this is a listing. So there's 951 colleges right now that are listed on the Common App. So if you're looking for a college, you don't really want to scroll through this whole list, but what you can do is you can put in the colleges. You can start putting in the college's name. Oops, sorry. I was trying to put in. Okay, so I was putting in Meredith College, which is a women's college here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I want to add it to my colleges. So I click on Add to my colleges. And it tells me down here that it's been added to my list of colleges. So when I go onto my colleges tab here, I can see all the colleges that I have listed on my Common App. You are allowed to list up to 20. That's it. 20 colleges. No, my personal opinion is that no one should be applying to more than 20 colleges. And actually, I'd like to say that I think, 6 to 10 is enough if you've done your research, if you've looked really strongly at fit and what have you. But I usually have 20 on my list, because I put on the colleges that my students are applying to, because I want to see what it is they see from their end. So for example, quite a few students that like Elon University. So when we click on Elon, one of the first things you get is this overview of the school. And this is a great place to get information. So it's telling me what the deadlines are. Here's all the admission stuff. I can link right to the college website. I can go on a virtual tour. I can go to College Navigator, where I can get some more information about the school. I can go to their Facebook page, their Instagram page, their Twitter page, right from this section. It gives me all the application deadlines if I'm applying for the fall semester, all the spring semester, and then all this other information, which is really useful to have all in one place. Lets me know that there are some exceptions when you're applying to some of the accelerated programs. And each college will have whatever the information is that is pertinent to their particular school. So here's the part you want to make sure you pay attention to. So, okay, it's saying that Elon takes the Common App personal essay. And that was the writing section that we looked at. But they also have a couple more questions. So when we click on college questions, it takes us to this window. So if we go down to the writing section, so we already know that they have the personal statement, which has to be 250 to 650 words. But here, look at these other questions that come up. And every college has something different. Some may not have supplemental questions, some may. So it's important to know that. So you're not caught, at the last minute and you've got to rush and throw something together. So Elon actually has these 4 short answer questions that I think are pretty cool. So, see if you can answer along with me. My throat is getting really dry out here. So one question, what brings you joy? You have 120 words. 120 words, and they're not looking for you to overthink these questions. For me, what brings me joy is going to a bookstore and seeing new books on the shelf and opening up a book and smelling. And I love the smell of books. I love cracking the binding of a book, a new book. I love it when a book starts at page 1 rather than page 3 or 5. I'm just quirky that way. I love a book that starts page 1. So again, that's one of the questions they ask you, 120 words. We're in your hometown. Where should we eat and what should we order? Think about that. So if you're applying to Elon, that's a question that you want to be thinking about because it's required. See the red asterisk next to it? That's a required question. You have to answer that. Then they ask, name 3 songs from your perfect playlist. Well, last week I talked about my 5 songs from my perfect playlist. So that would be pretty easy for me to do. And then as you look into the future, what gives you hope? Now this one, actually I said 120 words. These are 30 words. I'm sorry. They're really short. There's another, I think it was another school I was looking at, Virginia Tech, that actually had 120 words for their questions. So 30 words, so really short. But as this one, the short answer one, as you look into the future, what gives you hope? That can be up to 250 words. Okay, so this is why it's important for students to know what each school is requiring them to do. And then there's other information. So here's the part where, and I'm not really going to go through this part because students need to do this recommenders and FERPA section with their school counselor. You really need to have that conversation with your school counselor to see how they want you to do this section. But FERPA is about the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And what you have to do is you have to sign off giving your school permission to send in your transcripts, and also giving permission for your teachers or counselors to send in recommendations that you have not read. Okay? It's no big deal. Nobody's trying to pull one over on you. This has been standard operating procedure for as long as I can remember. Once you do complete that release authorization, then it will let you invite teachers or counselors to write recommendations for you. But again, it's important for you to make sure you check with your school counselor to make sure they want you to do this. Like one of the schools that I'm working with now, we use a program called SCORE. So I don't have them do recommendations through the Common Applications. We do our recommendations through SCORE. So they cannot ask their teachers to write recommendations for them through the Common App. We'll be doing that through SCORE. But that's another thing. I don't want to get you all confused. So again, remember to look at these questions. They have one specially here for Naviance, for those that use Naviance. So each school, and then when you get here where it says review and submit the Common App, so it's going to tell me you cannot submit an application to Elon University because you have a practice account. Okay? So it's not going to happen. If you want to be considered for admission, then I have to, have them convert my account. But I'm doing this as a practice because I want to see what my students see. And it also lets me know what other sections that I need to complete in order to get to that point. Every college has similar things. Some, like I said, some have supplemental questions, some do not. So it's really important that you pay attention to every college to see what it has. And then sometimes, to double check on their website. So for example, this is Auburn University. So their Common App Personals essay is actually optional, but because it's going to be there anyway, it'll be there for them to see. They said there are no additional college questions and they don't use a writing supplement for any additional requirements. So again, it's really different. If you were looking at Virginia Tech, again, different information for different colleges. So it's important to do that. So let me just, so, that's the general setup. One of the things that's really important to remember is that all of the Common App has so many help sections on there. So you can always go and get additional help from their support platform to do that. Here's another cool thing. Let me see. I think it's under when I go to my dashboard. So the dashboard just lists all the colleges, and you can just kind of overall see that applications in progress, writing supplements in progress. You can get more details. So it's just taking information that you've already put on your application for you to see. But here's one of the cool things that I like. This box up here, application requirements. So if you want a quick snapshot of what's required for schools that you're applying to, you click on this application requirements. Okay, here we go. And you get the spreadsheet. So right now I have it set to my colleges only. So only the colleges that I have listed on my Common App application come up. So it's telling me what type of institution. It's telling me if it has ED, ED2, early action 2, or restrictive early action, or if it's regular decision rolling. Gives you all the dates, tells you how much it costs to apply, whether or not that you need a personal evaluation. That's if you need something from guidance, if it requires a supplement for a portfolio. That's like if you're applying to an art program or something else. It tells you what the test policy is. So all that information is right there. There's also a little bit more information here. So teacher evaluation, other evaluations, if they need a mid-year report, and if they need another report, whether or not they save the form. So it's much better to click my colleges only instead of all colleges, because if you do all colleges, it's going to be all 951. So you can just do that. When it does say download requirements grid, however, it will download all 951. It doesn't, even when you're clicking on my colleges only, the download grid is going to be all of the colleges. So that's a really, really good thing to know and to be able to use. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. If people are looking for additional information, or they want some help, or they have a student that is applying to college, or even is in their junior year and just want to get started on some of the things they need to do, you can always set up an appointment with me here at Steps to the Future. You can just go right here to my URL, to my website, and you can click on appointments. And if you want to do a complimentary meeting, you can just go right here, click on my calendar, see what dates and times are available, and you could certainly make an appointment there. So I would love for anybody that's interested to do that. One thing I want to remind folks about, and I'm going to put this up. So last week I talked a little bit about this. I had gotten this notice that the FAA is doing some recruitment for air traffic controllers. And actually today is the last day to do that application. Okay, so it closes today. So you've got a few hours if you know someone that's still interested in order to do that. So again, I'm Dr. Belinda Wilkerson. And let me just stop sharing the screen for a minute. Let me see. Let me stop this sharing here, because there is one other book I just want to talk to you about. I just want to remind you about my book here, Becoming the Shero. I was one of 14 co-authors, and I would love for you, if you are interested in reading my story and the story of 13 other wonderful entrepreneurs and the road that we took to get to where we are. Here's the URL to order this book. But the other book you know what? I always say I'm going to do one book, but you know me, love books. So last week when we were talking, I was talking a little bit about my 10 years, because last week, this is my 10th anniversary, 10 years as Steps to the Future. One of the things we were talking about is just, different jobs and how do you know, what you want to go into as a side hustle or what have you. So there's this great book that one of my colleagues co-authored. Dr. Russ Sabella, he's down at Florida Gulf Coast University. He is like the data geek extraordinaire for all things school counseling. And he wrote a book, he co-authored a book with Stephanie Lerner, and it's called School Counselor Side Hustle: How School Counselors and Educators Can Monetize Their Time and Talents Beyond the Classroom. So again, I'll also put this in the show notes, but this is a good book to have if you're an educator and you're thinking about, okay, so what else can I do? Or when I retire from education, what are the possibilities out there for me? So he's done a really good job putting that together. So again, School Counselor Side Hustle: How School Counselors and Educators Can Monetize Their Time and Talents Beyond the Classroom. So again, folks, if you are interested in working with me at Steps to the Future, you can just go right to my website and get that information. Let me just share that with you one more time before I log off, so you can have that again. So here it is. Okay, so you can go right there to Steps to the Future, go to the appointment section, new family, here's the calendar, and you can sign up for a complimentary session. So this is Dr. B from Steps to the Future. Thank you so much for joining in. I know it may seem like, oh my God, she's talking so much, but getting this common application done and getting it done correctly so that you're not stressing, and getting things in well before the deadlines. It just takes so much stress off of students before they return to school. Some students are going back to school in August, some don't go back until September, but whatever you can do to get some of this off your plate before you go back to school full time, because senior year is a bear. There's a lot of stuff to do. So again, thank you everyone who watched this live, and for people who are watching this on the replay. And remember, excuse me, if you have any questions, send me a message. Love to hear from you. Take care. And this is Dr. B from Steps to the Future with another college and career conversations.